Y'all, I got 30 minutes.
Peace, y'all. Peace. We back. Kofi got 30 minutes. This the after party. Who are the Kuba people? I found it very interesting reading this title, rereading this title. I was able to, look into it a little bit more. Me and Kofi was having a discussion earlier. We was giggling, laughing, talking about when you first read the book, and somebody asked you about it and you read it, but shit, you couldn't interpret what you was reading. You know what I'm saying? So you just saying it's a powerful book. Yeah, it's a powerful book. So now we got our stencils out and we dissecting it. We cutting it with precision right now. And I wanted Kofi to expound a little bit because he was running around earlier and wasn't able to be in as early. So we're gonna do who are the Kuba people. So what's up, Kofi? What's up with these people?
Well, what I'm gonna do is real quick. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Like I said, I done did numerous presentations on these people in the Congo. Hold on, share my screen. Excuse me. All right, we just walk through it. Excuse me, walk through this slide. Let me see. And we get some people in there. Hold on, if I can. All right. Am I still sharing my screen, y'all?
Yep. Yeah, yeah, what's up, man?
All right. Well, this is something I did. Man. And where that come from? Where y'all? What's that on, y'all? Y'all see that? Y'all see that right there?
Yeah, yeah, it's off that chapter volume 3.
Yeah, I had that. I had got that man about three. You go back and look in the archives. I did it about 3 years ago, and I don't know. No, this wasn't the first presentation. The first presentation was I was trying to tie all this stuff in together. I think the first presentation was called Portuguese in the Congo, and I kind of got on that when Sean was dealing with the navigator Henry and dealing with Christopher Cologne and started dealing with a lot of the technology for the boats was and we both kind of started talking about Central Africa at that time, especially dealing with the Portuguese, one of the first players in the one of the first players in the game. But I think this was like the second presentation, and this is kind of some of the stuff in here in the presentation is kind of talking about some of the same thing we talked about. Well, I know y'all talked about it in the book. I missed a lot of it, but well, let's I'll read a couple of little things and then we'll get into the Cuba people just reading a few little things. I'll freestyle a few little things too. But let's just talk about who we're because we're talking about Central Africa. We're talking about the Cuba empire. We're talking about these different provinces that came together, like the Masi, as brother Sutek was talking about earlier. So this is just a little bit build, a small build on um, the Cuba people, just a little bit more in depth. But it says in the beginning of the 500 BC, small group of people who spoke related languages moved from West Africa to Central Africa and East Africa, forcing some of the groups and pygmies to retreat further into the forest area in the region. Because I think in the beginning, some of the stuff that I read that these, and I used that word at that time. Again, I wrote when I put this together was like 3 years ago, and I know that the word pygmy, if I'm not mistaken, Sean, ain't that right? Pygmy is a derogatory term, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah,
derogatory.
yeah. They
Yeah.
see it as derogatory.
Yeah. So at that time, shoot, I didn't really know no better when I was putting it together. When I was putting it together, but even when you see like, um, it says some of these people that was in there now, we're talking now right now. I'm talking about before we even get to the Cuba Empire, because when we talk about the Cuba Empire, like I said, I'm gonna be freestyling. I'm not gonna read all of this stuff, but we're talking about when actually those. stuff started to form with the Kuba Empire. When you look at the Landi and you look at the people in Angola, all these people, I think this was like around 13, maybe the 14, 13 something. This is before actually the Portuguese came in around 14, well, around the 15th century when the Portuguese came in. So it was um, before that. Um, but when we talk about in the beginning, it was these small people, and I don't know, it might have been the Ubuntu people that was
Yep. Yep.
yeah, that was in this area at that time. And then, like you said, when these other people started, um, later on in time, you start to see due to people migrating, people just migrating and migrating, people migrating due to natural disasters, such as things that's happening. Mother Nature is doing, um, certain things. When we talk about the West, the Sahara drying up, but there was other places that was drying up and the land becoming barren where it wasn't plenty, it wasn't good to grow anything there where actually wasn't anything growing there because the land was barren. So there's many different reasons people start to move. And even I talked about before we get into close, with the West and the East, it talks about the people from the East too. Also, the Tutsi people went east and went into Central Africa. That's a whole nother thing that I may come back on, um, probably when I start doing like these little morning shows and stuff, and talking about what happened with them when they went to Central Africa. We talked about in Rwanda, but in Central Africa. But anyway, many people migrated to this area. What it's talking about, and it was the Ubuntu people was the indigenous people there, and due to the different migrations of people migrating from the west, um, and the east, and migrated into this area. It fostered areas of region absorbing other moves through migration categories of people called Bantu, which the Bantu migration lasted about 2,000 years, unlike hunter gatherers who had lived in the Congo region before. These Bantu groups knew who knew how to smelt iron and began working in sophisticated tools. I'm not gonna read all of that, but yeah, understand the early history of the kingdom of the Congo is completely the lack of written sources. Of times it is well problematic that all of the later accounts are produced by Europeans. This means that there is no need to be critical about Europeans' accounts as they were written from a perspective of conquering in the outside, and further issues of located chronicles, those written from the insider perspective, such as the Congolese historian Pilebo Baka made assumptions based on organizations, clans, and recent um, history. And general knowledge, however, it established the Kingdom of the Congo came about through both voluntary and involuntary inclusions of neighboring states around central core states. Much of early territories expansions of the Kingdom of the Congo came through various voluntary agreements and smaller neighboring states. So there you go, where we was talking about these states, um, these different provinces coming together to form the Kingdom of the Congo or forming this Kuba empire later on in time. Some historical refer to call the entire similarities to the Kingdom of the Congo's Commonwealth rather than the kingdoms as they were built in parts of mutual agreement, marriage alliance corporations, um, and so forth. Let's get on to the king. The Kingdom of the Congo, also known as the Congo of Da Intalata or Winnie wa Kangaras, ranks amongst most of the famous kingdoms of the sub-Saharan Africa. The kingdoms located in southwestern Africa. It is now northern Angola. One of my spoke of Kambana, the Republic of the Congo, and the western portion of the Democratic of the Republican of the Congo. The empire consists of six provinces ruled by the monarchy of the Mani Congo and the Ba Congo of the Congo people. The Bazina Congo, this is the capital, um, right here. It is a great, let me see, because I'm trying to get more into, let's see, I ain't looked at this in so long. Dealing with the Cuba people, let me see if we go down here. Let's just see each province, king, capital name of the. Hold on, y'all. Bear with me, man. Like I said, man, it's been about 3 years since I looked at this thing, man. But
You good, Kobe? You good?
yeah, yeah. But I'm
Like I
just gonna
said, you
freestyle it.
definitely in the
I'm just
wild,
gonna,
though.
huh?
No, I'm saying like you said, you dealt with it a while ago, but shit.
Yeah. It's been a while, man, since I deal with it, man. But like I said, I freestyled it. We'll deal with let's deal with him right here. Let's deal with the founder of the myth of the kingdom of the Congo begins with a marriage of the Nema. And each one of these, now I ain't gonna even talk about, but each thing it has its myths on how their kingdoms, how they came to be about. And this was just one of the myths dealing with Lukini Uyani Nimi and how these kingdoms actually came about. I'm not even finna read that, but anyway, like I said, I just freestyle some of them. These are like some of the stuff that I was talking about when we was talking about like some of the different when you deal with Kemet, they talk about the different dynasties. These was like some of the places that they call houses during different periods of time, who reigned at different periods of time. But anyway, those different provinces, as we spoke of, came together. You know what I'm saying? Whether it was voluntary, involuntary, as it's saying, to form some of these great states. And some of these people that come out of this empire, the kingdoms of the Congo, is one person in particular. Is I mentioned a while ago, Izinga Ikuma, and his son right here, which is where we get into the Portuguese coming in at that particular time, and um, they began to trade these queens of kings, these Nzingas began to trade, and again, take in mind all of these uh, kings come from these different provinces or different states from that make up the Cuba empire. So Queen, you had Azinga Nukubu, and you had King Nzinga Mbebe, was his son, which they call, which was his Christian name, King Alfonso. Now these pictures, I'm not sure, like I said, that these are the original pictures or even original paintings of these individuals. I'm not sure, but like I said, dealing with the Portuguese after they had got established, the Portuguese came in. I know, like I said, I know Sean probably talked about it. They deal with trading, especially with these two. The Portuguese came in during the time, and Sean, you can stop me anytime too, man. But these kings, the Portuguese came in when he was ruling, and they began to trade with each other. And I can't even remember which state he was actually from. I don't know. It might have been Ladanda, Nunda, I think that was. Um, but anyway, which was one of the states, one of the provinces that made up the Cuba empire. And it actually even talk about that even when we deal with their myth, their one of their stories of how these kingdoms actually came about when they deal with the individuals that I talked, or not talked about, but right here, Lucini Nimi, and I know I'm mispronouncing his name, but it deals with him. It was just one of the stories dealing with him. I think he came from Lundy or came into London. Like I said, it's been a minute since I deal with this. But anyway, just talking about the Portuguese. I mean, the Portuguese coming in, they began to start trading with these groups of people, man, and they was trading equal exchange. Well, what I say, I always tell people I don't deal with people if it's not an equal exchange. So they started dealing with the Portuguese when the Portuguese come in. I know Sean talked about the different technology and uh, you know, them setting sail and why they set sail, and and they came into Central Africa during the 15th century. This was well after the Kingdom of the Congo or the Cuba Empire was actually. I mean, after the empire was established, began to trade. excuse me, trade with these people. Which was an equal exchange, and then later on, Europeans began to want bodies and not money. So, and even dealing with this, he became a Christian. Am I correct, Sean? Did he become a Christian? Did the king become a Christian at first, and then son his son
Yeah,
off?
he became a Christian not by force, by choice. He accepted
Right,
Christianity to
right,
do business with the Portuguese.
right.
King Alfonso, yeah, he accepted Christianity and then for a better life for his kids and all of that, he made moves on behalf of his personal self interest over his people.
Right, right, and
He
I
ended
think
up giving it back though.
right, right. He said fuck that. He said fuck that, and he gave it back. Right, he gave it back. And I
Yep.
think at that time too that y'all can correct me if I'm wrong too. He didn't even he he didn't force Christianity on any of his people.
No,
Yeah,
No.
he didn't force it. But
he
then
just converted, and usually what happens when the king converts, then the land is acceptable for the Portuguese. It is acceptable because the king has, what he is the ruler over the people and the voice of the people, which will allow them to operate the way that they want to operate.
right, yep. And but like like Sutek said, yeah, he gave that back. He gave Christianity he gave Christianity back, man, to the people in the Portuguese. But anyway, like I said in the beginning, or when they came in, everything was like an equal exchange. Everything was an equal exchange, and then they began to want bodies. The Portuguese began to want bodies, and so a lot of stuff broke out, and again, well, we don't sensationalize anything, and even when you study the Congo, you can look at some of the kingdoms in the Congo. You can even look at some of these states and so forth was actually fighting amongst each other, or warring against each other, and they had something what was called prisoners of war. So um, this king in particular that we talking about, um, he began to give some of his prisoners of war to the Portuguese. And the reason why he gave some of his prisoners of war, and I'm using the word prisoners of war, which people may use as semantics and say certain things, but I'm using prisoners of war is because when they fought amongst each other, um, they did not, if one empire or conquered another empire, or vice versa, they will have prisoners of war. People will be caught in prison of war. But these people, prisoner of war, weren't treated like slaves. The aspect of beating somebody, working them work for free labor, feeding them crop, changing, making them use their language, dismissing their culture, and their tradition. That wasn't the case in Central Africa. So these prisoners of war was able to roam around freely, um, in this era, in this region, and excuse me, and they was even allowed to marry people within these different provinces. They was able to marry, and they had a debt that they had to work off, and once they worked off their debt, they was either can stay, what I'm saying, and continue to integrate into the communities, or they can leave and they can go home. It wasn't no cruel behavior. So the king, he thought was the same thing. He thought that Izinga in Bimba, or King Alfonso, he thought the same thing. He thought that maybe uh say what now? Somebody
Nah,
asked.
nah, I ain't say nothing.
Oh, but yeah, he thought maybe that if he gave his prisoners of war to the Portuguese, because the Portuguese started to want bodies, in exchange for their goods. Now they no longer wanted the material that the Congo, or the king had to offer at that time. They wanted the bodies in the Congo. So the king began to um, give these prisoners of war to these Portuguese, and he under the assumption that he's thinking that these people are actually um, these people are actually going to be treated the same as they treated. Am I correct, Sean?
Yeah, initially, Initially, the ignorance of Africans was that prisoner of wars was similar to the way that they enslaved people. You have to remember that they had no idea on how Europeans enslaved folks and treated people in slavery. That there's a difference
Mhm.
between chattel slavery and and the other one, whatever the hell we call it. But uh, that's how they rolled. So it was later on when you get into a few hundred years, well, not really too much of a few hundred years, but just when they began to know more about what was actually transpiring or happening to the people in the, that was a part of that, when they gained the knowledge of how they were treated, you know what I'm saying, and learned that they were unjust, things would change. But that picture right there, go back to that picture right there on that slide.
Yes,
Slides,
ma'am.
yeah, that's the most
Oh,
important piece. Yeah,
oh,
that's
right
one of
here.
the, yeah, with the missionary coming in.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, yep. So, but yeah, he didn't have a clue. Like like Sean stated that he didn't know what their type of slavery looked like. And here are like some of the things that they actually started trading with: clothes, satin strips, kettles, umbrellas, brass rolls, iron cooking pots, pipes, mirrors, knives, beads, muskets, gunpowder in trade for local products. So these were some of the things that the people in the Congo, or the king of the Congo, began to trade with these Portuguese that came in, you know, trade with these guys, and then they actually started wanting bodies. That's just the capital right there, the kingdom of the Congo, right there. And but anyway, man, he once he began to find out, and I don't know which presentation it was. I kind of had some things. I don't know, was it a document or something that I had or something I found? I don't know which one of them it is, and it's a two more presentation. I don't know what the name of them is, where he was actually talking about um once he found out what the Portuguese was actually doing, and even the Portuguese began to come in, like Sean said, with the missionaries. They began to come in with other different Portuguese. I don't know if they was merchants. I don't know what they were, but they began to entice people uh, in different places. I'll give you this, and then you started seeing the kidnapping of the bodies. You also started to see the people, um, these people that Chancellor William talk about, the Jaga people, who some people say that the first attack on the kingdom of the Congo. We talking about the Kuba Empire, these different empires, these different provinces that came together. Um, in Central Africa, you get the Jaga, or the Mbangala people, and he mentioned that, I don't know what page that was. He mentioned that in, but you get some accounts, some first witness accounts of the Mbangala people working for the Portuguese, also during this same time. Um, you know, killing, snatching up these bodies or whatever. But anyway, but once he found out what was going on with them, man, he tried to reverse it and tried to get these people back, and um even stop giving him prisoners of war, because these prisoners of war he thought was going to be treated the same way, walking around freely, able to marry, within a society, able to work, make a living, and pay off the debt, because that was some of the prisoners of war, particularly when you're dealing with the Central Africa. They had a debt that they had to pay. Once they was able to pay their debt off, again they was able to continue to integrate in those different states of providence, or they was freely to go home. But the Portuguese, we know what the Portuguese use um these bodies for at a particular time. I'm strong through, and like I said, man, it's been a while, man, since I 2 3 years since I fooled and deal with some of these things dealing with the Cuba people. But that's some of the stuff that's offhand that I can kind of think of when we talking about Central Africa, and we talking about those different provinces and them different people, and uh that contributor, even going to Queen Gazinga, man. I know Sutek been dealing with it. We still talking about. She comes from one of those provinces that we talk about that make up the Kingdom of the Congo, the Kuba Empire. Hold on, let me go here.
You know what's crazy?
Queen,
The
huh?
jogger or the joggers, they play a pivotal role uh in both stories. In the story of the Kingdom of the Congo and
Mm,
the
Queen.
yeah, Queen Nzinga. I don't even want to say the
Mm-hmm,
whole book. It was more like just Queen Nzinga's story that they played a major.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So you got great people that come out of that region. Queen Gazinga, who was a warrior, man. It's a good thing, man. Good presentation right here, man. I did on y'all go check that out. I even thought here's a picture of them actually taking a picture of the people that they calling the jogger. Still it's still kind of undecided of who actually the jogger people were. You know,
Hey, you
you
hear
know.
me?
You, go ahead. What you say?
I was gonna see if Sutek could go in a little bit on how the Jaga played a role in that.
Okay.
yeah. Basically, the same. They initially they played the same role as they did in the Congo. They was working for the Portuguese, helping them snatch up bodies and helping them wage war, uh, fight them wars against the what's the name of the kingdom?
One of them
Let's
was
just
Angola. One of them was Angola because if you go back and look at the name of the Angola and um well, not Angola, but look at who was in those areas at that time. Portuguese was ruling there. You had mayors and all type of chiefs and uh, uh, different types of Portuguese in that area at one time, and those were and I don't know if I can't remember which one of those guys, but one of the mayors, because there was many mayors and governors in Angola. This guy is one of them that we're looking at right here, what I'm saying, wage war against them. And, and the Mbangala people or the Jaga people, these Jaga warriors was the ones who actually helped them during the time when these Portuguese was waging war against the people in Central Africa. Um, and
then
go ahead.
they start noticing that they wasn't getting the type of respect that they deserve. They still wasn't getting treated no different than the Europeans would have treated any other African. You know what I'm saying? And they helping them. They helping. They fighting alongside of them. Really,
Mhm.
they're more of the front man. You know what I'm saying? So they start kind of easing off. Groups of them start breaking off, and they start going back to rock with Queen Nzinga and her camp. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they switch back sides. Queen
Then she
the Kingdom of Indongo. That's what I was. That's
Yeah,
what I was.
the Queen of Ndongo. Yeah, that and actually that is the name. Let's go back up here at the top. You go back up here at the top. Warrior Queen of Ndongo. We're talking about Angola. That's and I'm talking about and I talk about that name Angola. You know what I'm saying? And it has something to do with those not mayors but governors that took over that certain region. But when you look at that certain region, it wasn't called Angola. A lot of those places over there wasn't called those names, and we know that due to anytime we deal with imperialism and colonization, we know once these so-called European powers began to colonize these certain areas, they would name these places. So, this place that was called Angola was called Ndongo. And you can see that this governor and these different governors after that waged war against Queen Gazinga in these different provinces that she was over because she was a queen over all of these different provinces. And and they began to wage war, against Queen Gazinga, and again, she is the kinsman of the two of these kings that we talked about earlier, the king and his son, who eventually become king, and etc. And all these they come from. I can't remember the exact tribe or exact place that they come from. But
Something.
um,
Yeah,
go ahead.
in, in, in Bande or Mbundu, one of them.
Yeah,
That's the ethnic group for that
yeah,
Queen is supposed to
right,
be a
right.
part of.
Right. And going back, let's read about these people that you talking about, Sutek. We talking about the Mbangala people. Like I said, I got a whole presentation on these people too. But this is what they say that some of these warriors look like, and they did break up into different branches. It says the Mbangala were fully military societies based entirely on initiation rites, as opposed to the customary kingship rights of most African ethnic groups to keep kingships from replacing initiation. All children born inside of the key lombo were killed. Were women were allowed to leave the quilombo to have their children, but when they returned, the child was not considered an imbangala until undergoing initiations. Boy, and when I'm telling you, these boys were some Man, these boys were some vicious boys, man. In most Spartan like programs, children was trained daily in groups of individual combat. So they wasn't recognizing their children, you know what I'm saying, or they wasn't even considered Mbangala, because that's mostly what I see them is as I mean see them as Mbangala, even though they are, some people say that they are the Jaga warriors. But like I said, that's still in the air. That's still unclear of really who these people were. During training, they wore collars which could not be removed even after initiation until they had killed a man in battle. Aside from infanticide rituals, the Imbala covered themselves with ointments called magi and magi a samba, believed to cover involuntaries, along as the soldiers followed strict and set uh, Yiyala codes. The Yiyala requires emphasized cannibalism and and abs, absolute absence of cowardice. So man, they was training these kids up, man, as youth, man, to be these vicious warriors. But then at one time too, and like you know what I'm saying, they began to break off in like different sects, and and then they began to work with um Queen Gazinga, but didn't they betray her? Didn't they end up betraying her too? Sutek, like I said, it's been so long, man. It's been 2 or 3 years. Didn't they ended up betraying her?
I can't remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they ended up doing. I can't remember, man. I could be wrong. But yeah, man, that just um um it's some info, man, dealing with Queen Gazinga, man, right there. Like I said, it's been a while since I deal with a lot of this, man. But shoot, man, that's all I got, man.
Yeah, man, laid it out.
Yeah, man, that's what we needed to hear right there. That's what we needed. You ain't got nothing, Sean. You been real quiet over there. You
Nah,
must be working.
well, Kofi going too far because when we get into that next chapter, we're dealing with and Zinga go pop up again. So
Oh shoot, well I need to stop then. Yeah, this was
yeah,
one of her titles right here. Naga Sa Naga Sakidala Inja Injaga Injaga. I know I'm turning it up, but that was one of the titles of Nzinga right there. But I'm gonna stop sharing, man. I thought some of it would have come right on back to me, man. But like I said, man, go check it out. I got about 6 presentations on there dealing with the Kuba people, and then tying in these different provinces, and then these people, like King Alfonso, which that's not his real name, his father, Nzinga, the history of the Portuguese coming in that area, why the Portuguese came into that area, uh, and so forth. And let me stop sharing my screen, man. All right, I'll stop sharing my screen, man. But shit, that's all I got, man. My time up anyway, man. I'm on. Damn, my bad. I'm on curfew tonight,
That's what's up.
man.
All right, shoot.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? I was reading the Linda Haywood book about Queen and Zinga. So I started watching she did a couple of lectures and she was talking about how she found Queen and Zinga in the Americas, in South America. So that's supposed to be her next book, man. I'm apt to hear about that because man, that may be a dagger to the collection. You know what I'm saying? We ain't bring no Abraham, none of that other foolishness over here, but we bringing Queen and Zinga over here.
Who is the woman you talking about?
Linda Haywood. She wrote that book. What is it? Njinga of Angola.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I'm familiar with her. I know who you talking about now. Yep, yep. I got that on the shelf. Got that, and it was another book, man. I use a lot from out of that book, and then a few uh other articles I was able to find uh dealing with her. You know what I'm saying? One a lot of information with some of those articles I found. So a lot of that stuff, man, I had got out one particular book. Um, but yeah, man. But I'm
All right.
excited about. Go ahead.
Nah, I was gonna say we go ahead and end it, man. If y'all ain't got nothing else.
Nah, I ain't got nothing
Nah,
else. We've been on. I said 30. I had 30 minutes. It's been before we've been on with another 45 minutes now.
All right, family. We appreciate y'all for tuning in for the little after show, little post build on the Kuba people and light introduction to Nzinga. We'll be like I said, we'll be dealing with that in the next chapter, and it's gonna be definitely a part one, part two to next week's build. So we appreciate y'all for stopping by. Peace, family.